Hi there. I realize it's been almost a year since my last video. I apologize to anybody who actually watches my videos. Oops. But on a more practical point here, sometimes you kind of run out of things to say, or you run out of the time to say them. I sort of had a little bit of both. It's been a very, very busy year. In my very, very busy year, I have spent time in British Columbia, I've spent time in Europe, I've spent time in the United Kingdom, and I've spent time here in Newfoundland, as well as 3 months in New Brunswick. It's been a busy year. So, I apologize for my tardiness in presenting a video, but I hope that I'll be forgiven. Anyhow, getting to topics for a video. That's something that I've been struggling with a little. A friend of mine suggested the difficulty of changing genres. I thought that was a very good point to make because in his particular case, he had been, bouncing around a little. I know that before I met him, he had done a lot of traveling. In doing traveling, he had done a lot of travel photography. Once he settled down, he got very much into wildlife photography, particularly birds, which he is very, very good at. But he found that maybe he needed something a little different, so he started dabbling in street photography. Now, there's a pretty big gap both in gear and mindset between birds and street photography. Birds, now you can imagine the scene, fast camera, big telephoto lens. That's for birds. But if you're going to walk down the street, something smaller, easier to handle, probably a little less conspicuous. You don't want to end up looking like you're some photojournalist looking to make a story out of these people. So he bought appropriate gear. But like so many of us, sometimes he doesn't really realize how good he is at what he does. So that leads to my second possible video topic. Overall, this video is pretty much going to go nowhere, folks, so if you were expecting something really earth-shattering, maybe next time. So my second point, from what I just said, leads us to, imposter syndrome. The idea that maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you've just been lucky. Maybe your work doesn't measure up. Well, imposter syndrome is very difficult to deal with. Anybody who is knowledgeable and who has put a lot of time into photography probably suffers a little from that. Overconfidence, the old Dunning-Kruger effect of what happens when you don't know enough about a topic to realize you don't know enough about the topic. That seems to carry along the people who think they know it all because, they know a little. Meanwhile, people who are very knowledgeable and very good at what they do, sometimes, of course, are at the opposite end of that. Knowing how much you don't know, knowing how much more you could be doing, can, of course, make things seem like maybe you're not that good. Anyhow, guys, that's something to fight. Imposter syndrome and its opposite, the Dunning-Kruger effect, these are things to be avoided. If you're new to this and you've learned a few things and now you think you're an expert, please reevaluate. If you've been at this for many, many years and you still think that you're not good enough, please reevaluate. You're at the two extreme ends. Okay, so what would be a third possible topic? Well, I've talked a lot about minimizing gear, the idea of gear minimalism. I'm very bad at it. I'm extremely bad at it, in fact. If you were to gather together all of the gear I have, it's way more than I will ever really need. So that is something that I can talk the talk, but can't really walk the walk. I have right now, again, 2 camera systems. I have a Sony system made up of 2 camera bodies and a fairly substantial set of lenses. I still have Micro Four Thirds, in particular Olympus. I started putting together all the bodies that I have, and right now there's 1, 2, 3, 5. A couple of them are quite old, and therefore I can discount those. But 5 camera bodies is a little extreme. I also have a very large set of lenses for Micro Four Thirds. As a result, I am not the poster child for minimalism. I'm almost the opposite. However, more and more I find myself minimizing. Wow. Age brings with it some rather interesting variations of the English language, which you will not find in a dictionary. Anyhow, I'm often minimizing the kit that I actually take anywhere. When I traveled to the UK and Europe, I took 2 camera bodies because I just wanted a spare. The other one basically sat in the camera bag. For lenses, I had 2 lenses. One was a fast prime equivalent to 40 millimeter, and the other was a do-it-all zoom equivalent to, let's see, what was it? Equivalent to 28 to 300. So those 2 lenses between them were all I needed. And for the most part, most were shot on the zoom, because mostly it was out in good light. Mostly it was situations where I was more concerned with getting things into the scene than I was with, minimizing depth of field or any of the other things you can do with a faster lens. So I may not be minimal when it comes to the total amount of gear, but I do try to be minimal with what I take out each day. And in my Sony kit, I do have a full frame Sony, and for that full frame Sony I have 4 lenses. I have a 17 to 28, I have a 28 to 75, I have a 70 to 180, all 2.8 zooms, and a 50 1.8, the old nifty 50. So that should do me quite well. Anyhow, folks, I've rambled on enough for one video. Remember, this is more a reintroduction than anything else. I'm back in St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm back in my own place. It gives me now the flexibility to be able to get back into making a few videos. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to comment. It's nice to know that there are people out there that are actually watching. So, all I can say right now is bye for now.